everyone, nice to meet you again with the Disney 3D Art channel. In today's video it will be the character Jumba Jookiba from the movie Lilo and Stitch. Dr. Jumba Jookiba is one of the major characters in the Lilo and Stitch franchise. He is a self-proclaimed evil genius responsible for the creation of the infamous Experiment 626, better known as Stitch, and over 628 other illegal genetic experiments. Jumba was born on the planet Quelti-Quan. There, he created a series of illegal genetic experiments but was eventually banished as a result. He then bought his own laboratory, where he continued to create more experiments alongside his former college friend Dr. Hamsterville. The two scientists both graduated from Evil Genius University and managed a business called Jokes on You. Eventually, both Jumba and Hamsterville would be arrested, following the creation of Jumba's latest experiment, 626. However, this new experiment proved to help Jumba in more ways than one, having him released from prison and finding him a family that loves him and vice versa. He is said to be divorced and has mentioned his ex-wife several times, usually in a negative way as she often nags him to get a real job. However, he has stronger respect for his mother. Jumba is a comical, loud-mouthed and endearing character, despite his evil status. Prior to meeting Lilo, Jumba was somewhat insane and ruthless, engaging in illegal genetic experimentation for the sole purpose of wreaking havoc across the galaxy. His motivation towards such malice remains unknown, though his previously sadistic nature hints it was merely for his own evil satisfaction and enjoyment. He is more interested in anarchy and chaos rather than true evilness. While Jumba's switch from villainous to heroic was rather hasty on the first glance, it must be noted that Jumba has some form of moral and standards even prior to meeting Lilo. Not only he was visibly appalled by Stitch's choice of words while facing the trial in front of Galactic Federation, but also outraged by his said creation's idea of posing as Lilo's newest pet to make it hard for the former and Pleakley to capture him at the time. In addition of realization that he never gave Stitch a purpose beyond being a destructive creature and bereft of comforting memories to revisit, he had no intention to truly hurt Lilo and even quickly agreed to rescue her after she was wrongfully captured by Captain Gantu in an attempt to capture Stitch. Upon meeting Lilo, and following his welcome into the Pelikai family, Jumba became rather humble and began to act as a father-like figure towards Lilo, his previously egotistical nature watering down to mere pride and confidence, and his villainy forming into innocent mischief. He is often paired with his friend Pleakley, who was forced to work alongside him to capture Stitch when he was still a menace. The two had a bitter relationship at first, but following the events of the original film, Jumba and Pleakley became the closest of friends. Ironically, for an evil genius, Jumba is actually very friendly and sociable outside his work. He is also one of the few characters, aside from Lilo, Nani, David, Pleakley and most of the other experiments, who loves Stitch. In fact, Jumba loves all of his genetic creations, having a sense of paternal pride in them. He speaks with a vague Russian accent, but also uses very broken English and poor grammar, and refers to himself in the third person. Although the extent of Jumba's genius can be somewhat questionable sometimes, the scientist proves to be a mastermind in his own right, as well as generally, having the ability to create new sentient lifeforms single-handedly as well as a slew of different creations, as seen in the animated series, though they can sometimes cause more havoc than initially intended, even if their purpose was to enhance life's fortunes rather than cause mayhem. Multiple eyes. Jumba has a set of 4 eyes. Peak strength. Jumba is strong though, above average. His lifting capacity is demonstrated when he throws a comb device that penetrates a door. When fighting Stitch, he ripped off a dish cabinet off a wall then threw several dishes at him like projectiles only penetrating the roof. Peak durability. Jumba is astoundingly tough. During his fight with Stitch, he was thrown out a window and hit with a Volkswagen Beetle 3 times, but comes up a little shaken. Also, he, along with Stitch, survived an explosion caused by a plasma cannon entering a meltdown sequence that was powerful enough to destroy Lilo's house. Genius intellect. While not having much terms in strength or combat, Jumba's greatest asset is his abnormally high IQ. During his college years, Jumba graduated from Evil Genius University. Jumba even stated when he was born a genius. Hence he was immune to Spike's goofy spikes as he was already 1% clever. He was also the lead scientist of Galaxy Defense Industries. He also created Tantalog, a language that is native to him, his species and the illegal experiments he created. This was demonstrated again when his age was reversed by Babyfire, as he already looked up an antidote to reverse the effects. Though, his intelligence can be hindered only by a few small and occasional lapses in memory. Even when exiled on Earth, Jumba is able to use materials on Earth to further his research and experimentation, showing his capabilities are nearly unrivaled. Expert scientist. Given his self-proclamation of being an evil genius and college years at Evil Genius University, Jumba has a high degree in science. For the past years, Jumba created 626 experiments mixed with various alien DNA. The experiments are destructive and complex, even Jumba would have a difficult time capturing them. He stated Stitch, also known as 626, is proof of his genius. Though, the experiments he created do have their own flaws, some even are useful for Jumba only. Jumba can even use material on Earth for his research and further experimentation. He was able to create 627. An experiment that's stronger than Stitch with no flaws and impossible to be rehabilitated, and Leroy, another experiment that has the same powers as Stitch. Only with a few extra abilities the latter doesn't have. Expert inventor, Jumba is also capable of creating complex and destructive machinery. With his high knowledge in alien technology, Jumba can create weapons even out of materials found on Earth. His capabilities are proven when he created the X-Buggy and various gadgets to benefit Lilo and Stitch's experiment hunting. He'd even created a container for the experiment pods and a laptop with all the details about the experiments. He was also able to fix the red police cruiser that was obliterated in the crash when Stitch took it and was even able to create a fusion chamber out of household appliances to recharge Stitch's molecules. In his first appearance, Jumba was on trial for creating illegal genetic experiments. While Jumba was imprisoned, Stitch escaped his craft that would have sent him to a desert asteroid for life in exile, in the hopes that he would eventually perish for want of food. The Grand Councilwoman then commanded Jumba to search the island of Hawaii to find and capture Stitch, granting him one of her warrior's plasma cannons in an attempt to stun 626. Jumba and his new sidekick Pleakley tried numerous plans to capture Stitch, but always failed, mainly due to either their incompetence, Stitch's aggressive nature. Pleakley's insistence on the rule that Jumba should never cause destruction to anyone crossing his path, or all three of them at the same time. When Jumba and Pleakley were camped out on surveillance, Jumba laments that he never gave 626 a greater purpose, wondering what it must be like for 626 to not even have memories to think about in the middle of the night. Once Jumba and Pleakley were fired and scheduled to a prison sentence due to their failure to capture 626 on time, Jumba decided to play by his own rules, which involves causing as much destruction as he wants, much to Pleakley's dismay. A battle between Jumba and Stitch occurred at Lilo's home. Due to the battle, a blaster exploded and Jumba and Pleakley fled from the home. While Jumba and Pleakley were away, Stitch and Lilo were kidnapped by Captain Gantu. Stitch managed to escape, but was put in shackles by Jumba, who then violently pummeled him. Lilo's sister, Nani, asked Jumba and Pleakley if they knew where Lilo was located, but the duo had no clue. Stitch convinced Jumba rather easily to help save Lilo. Nani, Stitch, Pleakley, and Jumba set off to rescue Lilo. Once everyone was saved and Gantu was defeated, Jumba helped rebuild Lilo's house and becomes a part of Lilo's ohana along with Pleakley and Stitch. Now residing with Lilo and Stitch in Hawaii, Jumba goes under the guise of Lilo's uncle and plays a major role in the series. With 623 experiments scattered around the island, Jumba provides information for each one that Lilo and Stitch discover or capture. In spite of becoming a humble hero, Jumba still strives to keep his evil reputation, but ultimately fails in favor of his family. When an experiment is captured, Lilo and Stitch will take it to Jumba first and foremost. Most of the experiments recognize Jumba and refer to him as their father figure. On many occasions before an experiment's reformation, the former would go after Jumba to prevent him from revealing the key to their defeat before he can tell Lilo and Stitch. In the episode, Ace, it was revealed that Jumba is a member of the Evil Genius Organization, EGO, which is an organization comprised of many evil scientists from across the galaxy. By the end of the episode, as a result of his apparent reformation, Jumba was discharged from the organization. The episode The Asteroid revealed that Jumba suffered from homesickness and was willing to abandon an endangered Earth if it meant returning to his home planet. But his attitude shifted upon realizing his desire to stay with Lilo and Stitch. Also in the series, Jumba and Pleakley even encountered other Disney characters during their adventures such as Penny Proud and Kim Possible. Jumba even mistook Rufus for one of his missing experiments, Experiment 607. Jumba reappears in the franchise's second film. In the film, Jumba is kidnapped by Gantu and Dr. Hamsterville, Jumba's former lab partner who plots to take over the galaxy. Originally thought to have been deceased by the events of the film, it is revealed that Jumba created a far greater amount of experiments other than Stitch. Before Jumba's kidnapping, he managed to hide his experiments with Pleakley, though this would only prompt Hamsterville to hold the scientist for ransom, threatening to kill Jumba unless the experiments were handed over. Though Jumba's sass and fearless demeanor prevented the villains from legitimately intimidating him, Pleakley, Nani, and former CIA agent, Cobra Bubbles, constructed a transaction area in defeat. Nevertheless, Lilo and Stitch managed to save both Jumba and the experiments, though they are accidentally set free. In response, Jumba and the others are recruited by the Grand Councilwoman, who was also alerted about the situation regarding Hamsterville and Jumba, in journeying across the island to find each experiment and turn them from bad to good. Jumba reappears in this offshoot sequel. Before either of them ever met Lilo, Jumba was putting the finishing touches on Stitch, known as Experiment 626 then. But before the doctor could release him, 626's molecules had to be charged. While Experiment 626 was charging, intergalactic police officers intruded into the lab and arrested Jumba for illegal genetic experimentation, leaving 626 incomplete and Jumba concerned about 626. Finally, those past events catch up to Stitch and the consequences begin to unfold. During a family night, he notices that Stitch has a glitch which causes him to lose control, and gets worried about him. Realizing what was wrong in him, in order to save him, he must build a fusion chamber to recharge him before his molecules are out of power, or else he will die. Due to the lack of technology, Jumba and Pleakley are forced to use domestic appliances, and when it was finally finished, it exploded and Jumba, losing hope, revealed to Pleakley that it was just an order from a catalog. He believes he cannot actually make the machine on his own, but is given the will to try after encouragement from Pleakley. When he finally manages to build it properly, he discovers that Stitch is gone and goes out with the others to find him. In the end, after the fusion chamber failed to recharge Stitch, Jumba is clearly devastated about his death, tightly holding him in his arms, but Lilo miraculously managed to resuscitate Stitch when she took him into her arms, crying because of her deep love for Stitch as part of her family. Jumba gained Lilo's gratitude and love by showing a deep loving concern for Stitch. It appears that his attempt to recharge Stitch had succeeded after all. When Stitch is playing soccer, his ball lands inside Jumba's ship, where he discovers the ship's laboratory, and the ship's computer scans and identifies Stitch as Experiment 626. After showing a list of experiments and their components used to create Stitch, Jumba enters the ship's lab and offers Stitch a choice between milk and cookies. After Jumba detects that Stitch is curious about his origins, Jumba reveals that he pursued some of the most horrible and fearsome beasts to create the ultimate monster unlike any he had ever created before. Jumba then goes on to say that the creation of Stitch didn't turn out exactly as he had planned, because Stitch discovered a family in Lilo, Nani, David, Jumba, and Pleakley when he landed in Kauai. Jumba then says that of all the experiments he had ever created, Stitch is his greatest success and that he is very proud of him. 3 years after Jumba's experiments were scattered across Kauai, Hawaii, Lilo and Stitch had rounded up and reformed 624 experiments. Jumba was given the opportunity to return to his old laboratory by the Grand Councilwoman. At first, he did not want to hurt Lilo's feelings by leaving, but she agreed to let him go, giving him an Elvis record to remember her by. However, Hamsterville escaped from prison with the help of the former Captain Gantu, who had been retired from his position forcibly by the Grand Councilwoman 3 years prior to these events and held Jumba hostage in his own lab, forcing him to create a new experiment, which ends up being named Leroy. However, Jumba used the record Lilo gave him to program a shut-off switch for Leroy. If he hears the song Aloha Oi, he will glitch and switch off, but will not die like Stitch would have, as shown at the end of Stitch Has a Glitch. When asked what he would like as a reward, he decides to give up his laboratory and return to Earth to become part of Lilo's family once again. In the anime series, Jumba was given a mission by the Grand Councilwoman to watch over Stitch as he recently began a destructive rampage after Lilo grew up, went off to college, and found a boyfriend. Jumba eventually lost Stitch but quickly reunited with him in a small island known as Izayoi. When he arrived, he met Stitch's newest friend Yuna and learns about Stitch's latest goal to do good deeds and obtain ultimate power. Jumba agrees to assist Stitch and stays on the island. Sometime after being taken into custody by Federation forces shortly before the first film, the computers at Jumba's labs were hacked by space pirates hoping to recreate Experiment 626. When these attempts failed, they decided to kidnap Stitch. While in pursuit of the pirates but unaware of Stitch's escape, Jumba and Pleakley are taken before the Grand Councilwoman, who explains the situation and again assigns them to take Stitch back into protective custody and keep him out of space pirates' hands. After seeing that Stitch has found a new family in Chinese China, Jumba decides to stay and assist in combating the pirates. First is to draw the body of the alien hippo, then wearing an outfit for Jumba Jookiba. Next is to draw 2 legs and then draw 2 arms for Jumba Jookiba. Finally, draw the head, make the face, attach 2 ears and string hair for Jumba Jookiba. So the character Jumba Jookiba from Lilo and Stitch has been completed. If you like this video tutorial, please like and subscribe button to receive the new notify. At the same time, download the app and go to the website DisneyStore to shopping online, as well as Disney Plus to watch some movies and TV shows for free, used by many peoples of the world. Thank you everyone and see you soon.